welcoming you to the John Telford Detroit Show, coming to you live every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock on WJZZ Cool TV. Dr. Telford is a former Detroit Public Schools superintendent, a former conqueror of Olympic track champions, a championship track coach, poet, newspaper columnist, and author of 8 books available at Amazon.com or by calling 313-460-8272. That's 460-8272. A recipient of the Detroit City Council Spirit of Detroit Award and the Joe Louis Foundation Spirit of the Champ Award. Dr. Telford was named Wayne State University's Alumnus of the Year, and a Detroit track is named for him. His email address is drtelfordedd@aol.com. That's Dr. Telford, EDD@AOL.com. He also has a show on WCHB 1340 AM radio that airs live on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and Monday evenings at 6:30 p.m. That's Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and Mondays at 6:30 p.m. 1340 Radio WCHB. Now, without further ado, I present to you that old native Detroiter, the one and only Dr. John Telford. Take it away, Doc.
Thank you, Gloria Cunningham, for that introduction in your most melodious voice. The same melodious voice that you introduced me on in WCHB AM 1340, my other show. We're on WJZZ, Cool TV, and we're going to be interviewing poet Natasha Anay, Miss Beautiful Thought Anay, today. My name is Detroit. I'm a blue-collar town. Blue salt melts my mid-March snow. Speedy cars and sprinters spring from me. I father fierce fighters and funky music. In a Motown moment, I can spit the blues right back in a bureaucrat's eye. Have you never seen blue salt? No complex chemistry here. Only the old color of a new sky. And there's a new sky dawning on Detroit today, because I'm here in the WJZZ studio with Gloria Cunningham and Natasha Anay. And we've got Natasha Anay on the show today, and that's why there's a new dawn here, because Natasha Anay is one of the best poets in the city. She has programs on poetry. I've been on her programs in past years. And Natasha, welcome to the John Telford Detroit Show with Gloria Cunningham.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here always.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my spoken word name is Natasha Beautiful Thought. So people know me as Beautiful Thought. And Omari Barksdale gave me that name. So I wear it proudly. I decided to take ownership of that. And so I have a 18-year-old son who just got into college.
Oh, great.
I've been doing...
Where's he going to school?
Wow.
Yeah, he's here in the city, locally in the city.
Wayne State?
Yep.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yep, so you'll hear of him, Tavon. He's in the theater program, so
Okay.
you'll definitely be hearing his name.
All right.
And yeah, I've been doing poetry since I was 12 years old, but I've been doing spoken word since probably 2010.
Yeah, it seems like about that long. I've been a poet since I was 12, too. I think we're just born to it. Though I'm trying to get Gloria to start writing poetry, because she was the English department head at Finney, and the English department has got to be poets, too. You know?
Yeah, and I like writing, but I don't know.
Now
I
you
can
get-
speak poetry right in my sarcasm mode,
Oh.
but I can rhyme up a lot of stuff, but I haven't sat down and been serious about poetry, but I will give it some thought.
Well, Natasha, I always ask my guests to send me questions, so I don't ambush them with some question they don't want to be asked. Although I did do that a couple times with the
Hey,
mayor.
we got to be on our toes, so.
Yeah, I I ambushed the mayor a couple of times.
Oh well, he needs to be ready.
Well, I think he got over it, and actually he's done just about the stuff I asked him to do since that time.
Wow.
But what have you been up to since the last time we met and you recited your poem about the 2019 no-fault auto reform?
Yes, the last time we met, I really talked quite a bit about the no-fault auto reform because it's something that personally affected my life negatively, and I'm just being an advocate and a voice. I know you love to talk about politics, and so I
love to talk about Trump.
Oh no, we don't want to talk about him.
Yeah, well, I love to talk about him in a very negative way.
No,
you know,
we don't
but,
want.
we got to get this.
We don't want to talk about him.
As far away from the White House in 2024 as we can. But anyway, that's I'm digressing. Go ahead.
And so when I first met you, that was kind of my coming back because I had kind of been, but I was dormant since 2000 and, well, about 3 years now since I have been recovering from that car accident.
Yeah.
And so since then, I've still been healing.
Talk a little bit about that car accident. What happened?
In August of 2019, I had a car accident on the Lodge, and I say I was body slammed because the car slid across the water, and just hit me, side to side as opposed to, like a head on or something like that. And so that's been a long recovery process. I'm not in my 20s anymore.
A lot of my friends have been in car accidents in Detroit. Now I've been in one. I was hit run coming from this studio, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
But there seems to be, I don't know, are people getting more careless since the COVID? Of course, this is
know
before
what?
the COVID.
I have seen a change in driving since we were locked down. I'll say locked down because, that caused a lot of issues with people, their mental health and different things, relationships, and you've just seen people just really be a lot more reckless and a lot less caring.
Oh, I've seen unbelievable stuff, running red lights, just cussing people out, and my good friend V. Starkey says that some of it's got to do with the fact that marijuana is available now, and I think might be a lot of people using, and driving.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if they've got a way to detect that yet or
and
legislate
it
against
turns into sort of a game for many of the young people. They weave in and out and go like
Well, I've seen them doing
Well, yeah, they've been
miles
doing
an
that.
hour and terrible. And now they have all these street bumps to try to slow people down in the neighborhoods because kids play.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
we were talking
so-
about 2019.
Yeah, so what I've been
Yeah.
up to, I've been on this healing phase, and the thing is about where I'm at now is that I'm bringing people along with me, and so part of my purpose has always been the peaceful place,
Yeah.
creating an environment where people
Well,
can go that's
I love
peaceful.
it when you do that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
But now it's even deeper than that. It's because so many people, just as we talked about, mental health, different things, relationships, people need to heal in so many different ways. And so I created another event called Poetry, which is poetry in tea. So it's spelled Poetrea. So it's combining the tea and the poetry and creating a very
TEA, you mean drinking tea.
Yep.
Yeah.
A very intimate, small environment where we can not just listen to poetry that sounds soothing and healing, but share stories and have conversations, not just coming to watch like a show where the audience is not the audience. They are part of what's happening in that space. And it's been very great that people really need that woo-saw and just step off the earth. So really proud about that atmosphere that I've created with that event too.
Yeah, and speaking of that year of 2019, how did the state's decision to shut down in March of 2019 affect you personally and professionally?
Yeah, we were just talking about some of the things that we experienced, and so for one, I'm guaranteed not to be caught off guard again, to make sure that I have resources in my house for different things that may happen, even the weather, or the electricity go out, things like that. But more specifically, personally, it allowed me to be still. And that was very helpful in my recovery, to be able to be still. And no one wants to stay in the house all the time, but I'm an introvert, so I can deal with it a lot better than those extroverts. But it was a very helpful season for me to be still. And even as you go to the doctor and things like that, there's things that have happened since the lockdown that they should have allowed before, like virtual doctor's appointments. And so different things like that made it a lot easier for my recovery. And then professionally, now that I am stronger and healthier, now I began to get my voice back and know that this is my season to speak and not be quiet, because I went through that season of being quiet. It's my time to speak now. So here I am.
Have you written any poems since that time?
Yep,
Any
I have
new
written.
poems?
I have written some poems that speaks to some of the things that I've experienced and some of the things that I've felt throughout that journey, including the loss of my father in March. And so, I write a lot about my life, or I write about someone else's life. A lot of the things that I write about are real. They're not, I don't write the fluffy make-believe stuff like this. I write about life, love, relationships, overcoming, healing. Just
So do I. So do I. And Roger, I hope you can see me holding up the book. This book is kind of like an autobiography in verse. Both of my
Interesting.
books were autobiographies in verse. This is my second poetry book. But Natasha, why don't you share one of your poems with us? It doesn't have to be a recent one. Maybe just one of your choice, one of your selection. Give us one of your poems.
okay. Well, I'm gonna share, because you talked about or asked about something that I've written, and this is a very monumental poem. I'm gonna kind of skip through it so it's not too long, but it's because I actually was diagnosed with brain injury, and so there was a point in time in my recovery where it was like I woke up, like my brain woke up, and not that it was fully healed, but like just anyway. Let me just share.
Sure.
Awakening is not something you simply open your eyes and do. It is a slow transfusion. Every drop adds up, as if pumping air into a deflated balloon. You blow and rest. Rest between. He made me lie down. Green pastures all around. Restored my soul. Carved a place where water is still and I am refreshed. It took quiet to lead me. It's coming back. At least I have the desire. I'm rocking to the beat of songs now. No giant can defeat me. There have been days and nights I rocked in pain and prayed he would let me stand long enough to undress myself or cook a meal or praise his name. Lord, you know my name. You turned it. Every valley I crawled through, you sent people to remind me I am yours. And my purpose is still powerful. You gave me the gift of press. I persevered until I could float without a rope, yet you never left me alone. I was lonely, missing friends, but so consumed with just trying to live. See, the healing was just beginning. And that's just some excerpts from that piece.
Oh, that's not the whole poem?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
excellent. Let
I
me do
wanted to hear the whole
station.
poem.
Let me do the
I'm
station
gonna do
ID, Doc.
Oh, yeah, okay. Go ahead
Okay,
and
you're
do it.
watching the Dr. John Tilford Show live with Miss Natasha, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world.
And now that we've got Natasha and in the show, and we were going to do our poetry, I'm going to do a little bit of poetry. No, I'm going to do one poem. I'm just going to do one poem. And this particular poem that I'm going to do is called Pyrite. Pyrite. Does anybody know what pyrite is?
No.
It's fool's gold. Fool's gold. And fool's gold. And in this poem, Pyrite, I wrote in the summer of 1963. In the summer of 1963, and it's on page 100 of my book, athletes, activism, and apple boughs, because I write about, athletes that I ran against on the U.S. team and in the Detroit Track Club and some other areas in the country. And this particular poem that I wrote in 1963 because that was the last year that I raced. I was coaching at Southeastern High. I didn't have time to train, and I was starting to lose races, which I did not like to do. So this is the poem, and it's a very short poem, and it's called Pyrite. Blue ribbons have purpled. You know how they do. Blue ribbons turn purple after you had them for a while. Blue ribbons have purpled. My day is dying fast. Too long have I hurtled in chase of my past. 10 trophies have tarnished. My medals are mold, the tone of old varnish. They're only fool's gold. Old rivals quit training, abandon the track. Yet I, muscles straining, pursue a new pack. I lose now, more often, more now than past years, whose passing can soften the luminous cheers. Tomorrow is past, and next week sneaks apace. Far time I unfasten my feet from the chase. And
Oh, clap, clap. Excellent as always.
that year, 1963, was the last year I ran. And I ran the quarter mile over in Canada, and I won it. But I won it in time 4 seconds slower than I had run before. And then I anchored a relay that we won, and that was it. I hung them up. I started taking money to coach, and in those days you couldn't do that. Today I'd be a millionaire. 45, 46 second quarter miles I was running them on dirt too. But anyway, Natasha, it's your turn to hit us with another poem. Can you do that? You ready?
Sure.
Okay. See, she's got all her stuff on that phone. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, I have to take some lessons for sure.
Okay, so I guess this will be one to tickle your ears a little bit, but this is about relationships. And
I got some about those too.
I found myself playing tic-tac-toe with my heart and constantly starting over because there are no winners when this game is played with hearts instead of X's and O's. It was like I was in Candyland until I landed on a square that sent me back home to reality. Everything was divine, seeing eye to eye like we were twins, meeting my needs before I could speak. I didn't have to speak. You knew what I seek. For in those moments, you would complete me like no one ever could but we were just friends, which you decided to end because though I was made queen, I was never your woman. I was the other woman, the one protecting you from other women and even yourself. I was the shield when you wanted to take off your armor. I was the encourager, hugger, hand holder, purpose pusher. I was the rescue and the escape. I was a prize, never to be won, only borrowed from time, and time ticked on and on. 10 years passed like that. They said you were my Boaz. I just laughed. Though we were married in spirit, we never agreed to it. Synchronizing our rhythms in poetry and song. For fear was your friend. You feared that my caring would go away. You never felt it before. So I allowed you to come and go as you choose. And eventually I chose me over you. Little did I know you too chose you. Failing to notify me we were done before we ever started, though for years I prayed and poured and sowed and gave everything I could. Forgiveness more times than I want to admit, but I did. Among your deception and self-gratification, I stayed in the trenches, knowing my God-assigned assistance wasn't complete. I bit my lip and cried in order for your true calling to thrive. I loved you, or I love you, became as natural as high. Now, Goodbye. I bid
Yeah.
you farewell because you raised up your pride, and I refuse to die here unwanted. I, too, need unconditional love. You're welcome. I forgive you.
Ooh,
Forgiveness
super,
is-
super,
Yeah, it's-
super bad.
That was a great one. That was a
Yes,
great
and
one.
then watching her do it
Oh.
puts, more into it. That's
Thank you.
right.
What set you apart from other poets?
Well, part of my purpose is the healing and the peace and wanting to connect with others through transparency. And transparency is one piece, but all of those things together, I'm not here for snaps and claps. I have a piece called "I'm Not a Slam Poet," and I'm not here for applause. I don't present my pieces or write my pieces so that people can pat me on the back and say, "Oh, that sounded great." No, I want you to feel something that helps you, or that you can think about and help somebody else. So my purpose, I think, helps set me apart. Yeah, I think that's it.
Well,
I want to say one thing. So I say that, and this is in a piece too, that I'm loud differently because I don't have this big, loud voice that commands everybody's attention in that way. So I say I'm loud differently because I do command attention, but it's in a more quiet, subtle kind of way.
I get it. I do relationships too. That's part of the title of this book. And I have a poem also. It's very short, but pretty much, tells the whole story of my past. I kind of call it My Bad. When I wasn't near to the girls I loved dearest, I often would veer to the ones who were nearest. And that is true, and that's where the apple boughs comes in. The first part of the poem, the title of this book is Athletes, and about all the athletes that I ran against and coached and knew and teamed with, and the activism is about my lifelong social activism. But the apple boughs, and I take that part of the title from a poem by Dylan Thomas, the great Welsh poet, who began a poem when I was young. It goes like, "Now I was young and easy under the apple boughs." I don't know if you've ever read any Dylan Thomas stuff, but he's one of my favorites. But anyway, let's talk a little bit more about what have you got in terms of unaccomplished aspirations. What do you hope to do with the rest of your poetic life and the rest of your other life too?
I don't know if I can project that far, but I was just thinking yesterday, like, I hope I live a long life as opposed to have my life cut short. And so, so when I think in terms of the future, that's what I foresee, and I would like to be remembered for my voice, not my voice necessarily that you hear, but my voice meaning my words and the impact that I have made on people's lives. And so I say I want to do a full book because I have a chapbook, but that was so many years ago.
You need to do a book.
I know. I actually have on my computer 100 pages that I put together for a book. So I need to go back in there and get it together.
That's what you need. You need to do it. You absolutely need
That's
to do
definitely.
it. Every poet has to have at least one book of poetry. This was my first book of poetry, The Poetic Prancings of Bad John. And this book it sold fairly well. Now my second book, I don't know how well it's going to sell, but You can get it on Amazon.com, by the way. So I'm
How does your
telling everybody that.
son deal with you being a poet?
Well, you know, when I started doing spoken word, he was about 5. And so we have pictures all the way back from when he was a little, you know, and he's always been a singer and an actor.
Well, he's a
That was
poet.
innate in him.
A singer
and
is
so
a poet. Does he write songs?
he does write a little bit, but
Okay,
absolutely,
well, that-
he's written some poetry.
Okay,
Because I've homeschooled him since 4th grade, so he didn't have a choice but to do
Yeah,
some
he had to
poetry
write
at some
poetry.
point.
Okay.
But you know, and so when I went into the spoken word community, or the larger, you know, a poetry community, I said that, you know, I saw very quickly, you know, people say anything on the microphone. So I had to create my own path with my own events so that my son could follow this journey with me. And so very quickly, that's why I started hosting and producing my own events so early. So he has been along the journey the whole time. And so when I started the Peaceful Poetic Place, he was a vendor. So he's like 8 years old. He's a vendor selling food and different things like that. And eventually he quit. He quit on me because it was so stressful. I'd be so all over the place, you know, trying to get it, you know, get there and all that. So he quit after a couple years, but he's had, you know, a platform available to him sometimes when he felt comfortable. But it's been a beautiful thing to have my son, someone that was in the arts himself, that could appreciate what I was doing, and then also me to be able to have the opportunities and the platforms and, you know, things like that he could also experience. So he's been interviewed. He's been on the radio station out in Dearborn. He was young. He was less than 10.
Maybe we ought
Have
to
you-
have him on this. We ought to have him on this
Oh,
show.
he's on another level now. He's a professional. He's a professional actor even before. We've done commercials
18
together.
Have
years
you-
old. 18 years old.
Have you ever
Yeah.
poetically reprimanded him to where he would
No.
say, "Oh, here she is again"?
No, but you know what he asked me one time? He said, "Mom, are you saying a poem, or are you talking to me?" But we actually have had the pleasure of, over the last year, of actually being booked together as artists. Now, we didn't perform
Okay.
together, but we, on more than one occasion, we've been booked together where he sang and I did spoken word. And so a couple
Wow.
times I brought him in at my poetry events and had him like play a little bit or something like that. So I feel like it's just the beginning, but he's been along this journey for a long time.
Now,
Okay.
was he singing his own songs that he wrote?
He, you know, for his graduation requirement, I made him write his own song, and he had to perform it.
Well,
So
we gotta get this kid on the show.
Yes.
We gotta
Oh
get him
yeah,
on the
that'll
show.
be
yes,
a
he
great.
is. He's not a singer; he's a singer.
And you know how you and I feel about young people.
Oh,
So
yeah, well, that's right.
Yeah.
You're an educator.
Yes.
I'm an educator. I mean, I'm teaching now. You know, almost
Yeah.
88 years old. I'm the poet in residence. You know, for
At
Detroit.
DPS?
Yeah.
yeah.
Or
And,
DPS.
and I have my own school. You know, DPSCD. I mean, it's not my school, but it's where I do my poetry. I
Yeah.
got a class there. At
Awesome.
Frederick Douglass. Used to be over Murray Wright, the old Murray Wright. Now it's going to be at Northern High. One of these days, Gloria, I want you to come and talk to my
Oh.
kids. Maybe I bring
Oh,
you
yeah.
to talk to my kids.
Yeah, that would be
And my
great.
kids are a real challenge, you know, because
Her
well,
son, you, me, you know,
Yeah.
whole crew.
they have some fun. I go once a month. I go around to the other high schools do my poetry, but
Okay.
3 times a month I'm at the
Very good.
school. Anyway, you know, you're where are you doing your Peaceful Poetic Place now?
Okay,
What's the-
freeze that answer. I saw it coming out. Station ID. You're watching the Dr. John Telford Show live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Not in
I
in
gotta say
Detroit,
this
in
now,
the
'cause
world.
I promised Doyle I'd do this.
Okay.
But thank you, Gloria, you know, for that station identification. Doyle Johnson, one of my former students
Oh,
and
yeah.
trackmen at Southeastern High School, who's been self-employed for 52 years, just suffered a devastating fire at his office on Van Dyke in Detroit that destroyed most of his inventory and 90% of his equipment. His building insurance had lapsed because in Detroit, insurers want you to carry a $10,000 deductible,
Wow.
which is prohibitive for a small business. Doyle has given back. He has given back to the community. Ever since the 60s, he has given blood at the Red Cross. He has mentored young people at Southeastern High School, and I was his coach there back in the early 1960s. And he has served as president of the Southeastern High School Alumni Association. And a GoFundMe account has been set up by his daughter to help with rebuilding his business. You can find the site at Doyle Johnson. That's a simple site. DoyleJohnson. That's the site. DoYle Johnson.
Yeah, he and his wife. His wife has been stood beside him the whole time.
Yes,
She's
she
wonderful.
certainly has.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has, and his daughter. So any amount will be greatly appreciated. And we are interviewing a fellow poet, and this lady is also going to be doing a poetry program with me on Sunday, and I can't say where because we didn't. Roger told me some reason why we can't say where. He already told me, but anyway, it's in Brightmoor, and it's going to be Sunday, and I can't say precisely where.
This Sunday?
Yeah, this Sunday
Okay.
from 3:30 to 4:30. We have to be there at 2:30 to get set up. But I'm not going to say the name
Yeah,
of our promoter.
I'll be there. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
will
be
you? Oh,
there.
that'd be great.
I'm involved in that whole piece.
Oh, super. Okay.
Yeah.
But we've got Melba Joyce Boyd, who is the director of Black Studies at Wayne State, was a student of Pershing back in the old days when I was teaching there. And we've got, of course, Natasha. And we also have Mildred Williams, the coordinator of DUPAS, Detroit Unity Poets and Authors Society. And we have one of the really fine poets in the city of Detroit, Wardell Montgomery. So that's going to be quite a show, and I can't say precisely where it is or precisely who's managing it.
Yeah.
But I'll be saying that on WCHB.
Okay. Yeah.
Saturday morning. Which
Yeah,
will
and
be
I'll
good.
be there too, and the show before yours.
Yeah. Okay. And also, I'll say this later because we still have some other questions that we have.
Yeah, I'm
we
going to
have
tell people what I have coming up.
Oh yeah. Do that.
So I will be at the Poetry in the Park on Sunday, and I'll share that information on my page today.
Good.
That detailed information about the park, and
Okay.
I'm honored, Dr. Telford, that you continue to bring me on your show, and that you think this much of me to,
Well, I love your poetry. I love the programs you do. I mean, you've been doing it for years. It's always been very impressive. We need more folks like you to promote poetry in the city of Detroit. And I made my reputation as an educator and as an athlete, but really what I am is a poet. My body was an athlete, but my heart is a poet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I can say that about you, and I think I can potentially say that about you if I can ever get Gloria to start writing some poetry. Because not only do poets write poetry, they inspire others to write poetry. And that's what I'm doing right now at Frederick Douglass, which is a real trip because my kids don't particularly care for poetry. But I've got them doing rap, or I will have them doing rap again this year. And that's poetry too.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I
You got to
don't
reach them where they are.
Yeah, I'm not a big rap fan. I got to tell you the truth, but anything that works.
Yeah, a whole nother generation. And actually, one of the, this is getting to the next question, but we'll combine, one of the, I would say, best kept secrets, one of the few, is that I also teach. So, not all poets teach poetry, but I have been teaching several years. I've taught in mental health development centers to adults and things like that. But I teach because I've been homeschooling. I've taught also in the homeschooling community where I've set up classes to teach spoken word and poetry. And I'm excited about a class I have coming up for high schoolers that are homeschooling, teaching them spoken word and poetry. But I have some other classes also that I'll be teaching. So since my son graduated from homeschool, I said, well, he's leaving homeschool, but I'm not. You know, it's still in me, and that passion to inspire other people, especially young people, even more so to, you know, pass the baton, so to speak. It's very inspiring even to us as poets to see these young poets and hear what they can come up with. But also the journey of teaching is not so much about just teaching them how to write a poem. It's teaching them about themselves and owning who they are, and that self-esteem boosting. And, you know, just like, you know, a coach, it's the same difference. Like, you know, coaches have inspired young people, and it's like, you know, if it wasn't for my coach such and such, you know. And so I have parents even now who say, you know, you really helped my daughter, and, you know, she was able to write when she went through different things. And so that's important to me, and then that adds meaning to my life as well, beyond just my own poems. But I have coming up, I'm bringing back the Peaceful Poetic Place. It's called The Reunion, and it'll be back in Royal Oak on November 4th.
And
So
where precisely?
at Royal Oak Women's Club in Royal Oak. I have the
Where is that?
It's,
the address.
404 South Pleasant Street.
Okay.
And I have this on my I have all the information on my website as well.
When are you going to do it?
November 4th, it'll be the first Saturday in November, and it's called The Reunion. So we'll see.
What time?
What time? It is, I think the doors open at like 6:15.
Okay, afternoon.
But,
early evening. Okay.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay,
But
say it all again. Address, when, where.
yeah, they need to buy tickets online, so I put the information on my website at mybeautifulthoughts.net, mybeautifulthoughts.net.
It's
But it's
thoughts,
at yep,
thoughts?
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
'Cause- yep.
mybeautifulthoughts.
Yep.
Okay.
And my my website. So the event is the Peaceful Poetic Place, The Reunion, and it'll be November 4th, and the tickets are on Eventbrite. So if you look it up, but really the easiest way is to go to my website. It's all there, all the links, the flyer, of course on my Facebook page, I have that as well. But mybeautifulthoughts.net is the easiest way to get all of my contact information, my social media and things like that, and connect with me from that one place, as opposed to going to all these different sites and trying to look for me.
Okay, how do you balance all of this? And you're still a mother, and
Yeah.
you're an artist, and you have all of these things going on. I have a
Yes.
girlfriend that's great at this balance. I just don't know how to do it that well.
I can't say the balance is one of the balances was because my son was an artist and I could bring him along the journey. So that, and creating my own platform so that I could control what was being said. Well, I just said, it wasn't vulgar things and stuff that I was okay with my son hearing. So that's one way that I balance. But as my son being older, and him being an artist, that was another way that helped me balance, where he enjoyed artistic things. So he didn't always mind, coming to events. But even now, the balance is sometimes putting this aside. Okay, so balancing my time. So, okay, for these next 3 days, I'm going to help him get his stuff together for college, get him packed. All right, okay, now it's time to shift focus. Like, I got this event coming up. So it's sometimes the balance is not that I'm doing everything at one time, but it's like strategically saying, okay, here, now, and shifting my focus. So now he's in school, he's off. Now I'm shifting my focus back to
So what's
me.
something that you do that's not connected to poetry or artistry or anything like that? That's just, people would say, oh, you like to do that? Lift
Yeah.
weights or,
Not lift weights. Okay, so that's a great question. So I have a company called Consulting by Anae. And so I actually do speaking engagements. I do coaching and consulting for not only for homeschool families, where I teach parents how to homeschool and walk that journey with them, but I also do one-on-one coaching with teens up through adults. So I don't want to call myself a life coach because my focus really is the family, even though I may be talking with an individual. But and also coaching parents, whether their kids are homeschooling or not, and how to care for their children holistically, mind, body, soul, spirit. And so that's something that a lot of people don't. It's like two different pieces, but it really does interconnect, like in my poetry. And then even when I work with people, like especially the youth, if I'm coaching them, then I can bring in some artistic things like that, more creative things to work with them. I even coached a mother and daughter, a teen and a mother. And so we did some creative exercises and things. And so my creative side helps me with that because I have a degree I have a social work degree. So my degree is in social work and I have a master's in human services. And so, you know, these are the things that people know, oh, well, that's just beautiful thought. She's just a poet. But it's so much deeper to me that I bring to the poetry side that, you know, that I'm able to understand people and families and seeing so many different situations from, you know, domestic violence and abuse and homelessness and all these different areas that I've seen that really makes me this one person. You can't connect those pieces of my experience from who I am as a poet. And so, you know, so I've written pieces about domestic violence, several. I've never experienced it, but I can feel it. I've seen the impact. I've seen children impacted. So things like that. And so I even just get passionate, you know, in speaking about these things because the family unit is so important and being able to help families not only through, however, it helps the parents through my poetry, but then through my coaching and consulting and going out and speaking is.
What's your spiritual connection?
My spiritual connection is it's all intertwined in my poetry. And I am a whole person. I'm a holistic person, mind, body, soul, spirit.
Okay.
And I don't put that on a shelf to write a poem, or I don't put that on a shelf to talk to a family. It's like I'm not interjecting my beliefs, but if they bring up, like, you know, I had a family that I coached that had a Muslim belief. And so I said, okay, so well, how can we integrate your faith into your homeschool? You know, and so yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
God and Jesus. That's my thing. That's where I come from.
Okay.
And my faith has carried me through my healing to hold on till I got to that other side. And so even though I may not talk specifically, you know, to someone and say, okay, well, this is what you should do in regards to your faith, I can say this is what's helped me, and they can see my resiliency through my transparency. I know that makes sense.
Yeah, and because I was going to ask you what was your calling, and I know what my calling has been all my life. It was absolutely to teach, absolutely to help youth, to help children, and I've sort of mentored so many, and they come back to me still today, and they're in their 50s. So I just wanted to know.
There is a piece of that because when I do the poetry classes, particularly for the youth, I feel it's like a mentoring situation. I don't go in as a teacher hat, even though I'm teaching. My point of view is like, I'm going to help them love themselves more, help them deal with things they've been through more. So, yeah.
We gotta kind of wind this thing up, and you know, before I forget, Virginia Starkey, Miss Virginia Starkey, fondly known simply as V, the proprietress of V's Boutique, offers a wide range of fine clothing and accessories for ladies. You can find all sizes of women's fine apparel in V's one-stop excellent customer service at V's Boutique that you can't find anywhere else in Detroit anymore. V's is at 16423 East Warren Avenue, 16423 East Warren Avenue. So go over there and get some of that fine clothing and at V's Boutique. And we have been interviewing Natasha Beautiful Thought Ane on the John Telver Detroit show today. And Gloria, do you have anything to add?
No, just that I do photography, so let me know if you're interested in me shooting some photos. I love to do that. 313-658-8018. Are we closing out, Doc?
Well, I got my poem.
Okay, well,
in
let me do
uh,
the station ID real quickly again. This is the last time for this hour. You're watching the Dr. John Telford Show, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world, and keep coming back to this show every week.
Gotta do the lead out. I think we're at the point where we have to do the lead out.
Okay, this has been Dr. John Telford and his great show. I'm Gloria Cunningham, and we're here with Natasha, excellent poet. And you can contact Dr. John Telford at his email address, drtelfordedd@aol.com. That's Dr. John Telford, EDD@aol.com. He also has a show on WCHB 1340 AM radio that airs live on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and Monday evenings at 6:30 p.m. That's Saturdays at 9:30 and Mondays at 6:30 on 1340 AM radio WCHB. So keep it together and continue to watch Dr. John Telford. Get his books too.
Amen. That was a good show. Get my book. It's